Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome, everyone. I've got two special guests with me today talking birthing the new earth. We're going to talk about healing and also talking about the I Love You Me method with Tara Love Perry. So welcome, Tara. Welcome, Carol Noonan. So excited to have you both on here. How are you both doing today?
Thank you for having us, Zissis. It's brilliant to be here. Lovely to see you and Carol as well. I'm really good. I've just spent the afternoon with one of my best friends in the whole world. And so that was really beautiful. I'm in a really nice space.
Amazing, amazing. Carol, how are you doing?
Hi, Zissis. I'm really well. Really well. Lots of changes, lots of challenges. Crazy times we're in.
So let's deep dive right now then, Carol. Let's talk about those crazy, crazy changes. Let's talk about those challenges and what we're all experiencing. Hopefully people can relate and maybe give practical advice and practical tools on how people can deal with this turbulent times. So as we were waiting to get on, I was talking about how it seems to me, and please ladies, let me know, seems like every day the dial in frequency and galactic energy coming into this planet seems like it's getting a little more intense. You know, every day it feels like we all have to assimilate and integrate this energy, and it beckons us to let go of things that don't serve us, the shadow side, the traumas, the dark stuff, as it were. Are you resonating with what I'm saying? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings associated with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really resonating with that. And I was thinking about it last night, and I was actually seeing an image, because I get for anyone listening who doesn't know me, I'm a channel for the Pleiadians. So, and I just like to get my information from them. But last night, I'm shown quite a lot of information through images and visually. And I was shown an image of a heart. Let me move this so you can see me. I was shown an image of a heart where the heart is the center, and that's what we need to step into and come from. But then surrounding the heart, also in a heart shape, you've got all these puzzle pieces, which are different aspects that we also need to bring and incorporate and process. So it's not just the heart center. There's other things we need to do, like grounding, and I can't even remember what the other things were now, but the compassion, grounding, being centered, but everything comes back to the heart and coming from the heart. And one thing I really wanted to ask Tara, and then I'll share about the email as well, because Tara doesn't know yet. But one thing I wanted to ask Tara is, because I've had a lot of, I was born into what I describe as hell. I had a lot of child abuse, a lot of poverty, an alcoholic mother, a very bad school system I was in. And then I was raped at the age of 12. And I actually became pregnant and lost the baby. But one of the things I wanted to ask Tara is how to heal from trauma and child abuse. And I've seen such a big pattern over the years where I believe that most light workers and absolutely most starseeds are traumatized as a child to stop them from being on their path, either fully or as much as possible. But also going back to the email, I was sent an email a few minutes ago, Tara, and I had my laptop on, everything was set up, and I was in and out of the bathroom and making tea and coffee and stuff and getting water. And I came back and I read it wrong, because I read that I had an email from you saying, hi, I'll be late, but I'm on my way. And it wasn't from you, it was from me to you, and I never sent it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And I was late hopping on, so that's your psychic senses doing funny things.
Well, it's weird times we're in, isn't it?
That's a whole another conversation, actually. that maybe we'll get to come back round to that, because that's quite interesting. If we're going to talk about realities and timelines and all kinds of, Mandela effects or whatever that is. But first of all, Carol, I just want to acknowledge what you just shared to begin with, which is really strong. And I want to acknowledge you for being so incredibly strong that you've got through all of that to where you are now.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for your vulnerability, and being able to share stuff like that publicly is massive. And my heart completely goes out to you. And I just want to say I am so sorry that happened to you. And that must have been incredibly terrifying. And, well, you said it yourself, hell. And for you to experience that as a child is just horrific. So I'm truly sorry for what happened to you. And it is devastating. It's devastating what happens to children on this planet Earth. And I care very deeply about that. And of course, those of us that have grown up, like yourself, Carol, that have experienced such horrific abuse and destruction of your innocence is not okay in my book. And a lot of people that have grown up like yourselves have still that, I'm not saying this is you, but many, many other people still have that very damaged, wounded, hurting inner child. And it's hard to reconcile being in the world and having that inner child somewhere inside that's unhealed, that's still deeply traumatized. And then, of course, we get through things, we get over things, we push past it, we carry on. And then there's a world full of adults who are in adult bodies trying to do something in the world, trying to be themselves, trying to do the best thing, the right thing. And yet we're all, well, mostly all people are still coming from that very damaged, wounded inner child. So when I look at the world, I don't see a world of adults. I see a world full of damaged children. And here we have damaged children trying to have relationships with one another, trying to be seen, trying to be heard, trying to be met, trying to be understood, trying to get the healing that we've needed for so long in our relationships with one another, whether it's family relationships, parent-child relationships, intimate relationships, whatever it is, our work, our everything. We're somehow still trying to reconcile, whether we realize it or not, the damage of the inner child. And then we're, of course, raising children in this world, all coming from this very wounded, damaged inner child, screwing up our relationships left, right, and center because we're all still hurting, and procreating children from these very unaligned, very hurt, wounded places, and then trying to create a world going forward. And to me, it just seems absolutely fundamental that everybody has to have healing of some kind. And addressing this issue of the abuse, and that can be through negligence as well, and all kinds of abuse, all kinds of traumas from a very dysfunctional upbringing. It's absolutely paramount that if we're going to create a better world, and we have a hope of having a good future on this planet, I think it's absolutely crucial that we turn back within our own selves for that healing. Because it's very clear to me that what we have been doing so far in terms of going out, trying to get that reconciled or healed in whatever way, it's not actually, it's not working yet. There may be small things here and there that are working, but on the whole, on the mass scale of things, we really desperately need something that really does the trick, that really gets us to the core of those wounds and enables us to transform and become the stable, centered, loving, adult, responsible, aligned and brilliant human beings that we've been created to be. And it seems that we've, there is this aligned, divine, incredible genius human within us, and yet we're all playing out this trauma. So I'm interested in finding that way back home and supporting human beings on this planet to come back home and to come back to themselves, and to make a pathway back to that inner child, to rebuild those relationships, and to do that inner self-love healing. I refer to it as self-love, to have enough love for oneself and others to actually come back and do our own healing. And I think a lot of people just don't even know where to begin. So that's something I really feel passionately about helping with.
Carol, I also want to echo Tara's sentiments as well. It takes a lot of courage in recognizing all that you have been, and to be this vulnerable and open and sharing with the world means everything, because collectively we can all support each other in this way. Everyone has a story, I believe, in this trauma, right? And you know, it's curious for me because I observe it in every way possible in all people in some way or another. You know, there are always spectrums of trauma from young children that, as Tara had said, gets more or less encapsulated and then kind of projects onto. And I know people like myself, for example, I've worked very, very hard on myself, and I'm always conscious about what other work needs to happen. But as light workers, way showers, you know, sometimes we are almost tricked that we've done our work, right? The work comes in many, many layers. And just when you think you've done your work, there's more work to be done. Part of that is, what are you bringing into this planet? What are you bringing into yourself? What are you bringing in front of you? What projections are you bringing forward? And that, for me, informs me how functional or how much more work I need to do. If I'm bringing in some aspect of my wounded self, it's going to manifest in some way, shape, or form that's going to be very painful for myself. At least that's my understanding of what I believe so right now. So,
Do you mind?
Yeah, please.
I'm so sorry, Zissis. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, I'm done, Tara.
No, when I hear people using that phrase, and you're not alone in this, and people talk about doing their work or their inner work or their shadow work or their healing work, and that word work.
Right.
And I would like to offer an alternative to that, because when you call something work, you know, we're setting ourselves up, I think, for a bit of resistance, like it's going to be hard work. Much like having a baby, they call being in labor because it's hard work and it's painful. Well, it doesn't have to be. My experience definitely was the opposite of that, where it wasn't work, it was blissful. And so what if, instead of thinking of it as our inner work or shadow work, we just called it love? That we were willing to love ourselves enough and willing to love one another and life and the world enough, but we have to bring it back to ourselves, because that's the last place we tend to go to, because it's called work as well. That might not help, you know. And actually just be like, what if I loved myself enough to care deeply for those parts of me that are not okay? Whether you're a light worker or a way shower or a CEO or a child on the streets in India, like whoever you are, we are all divine beings, no matter what label we assign to ourselves, awake or unawake, conscious or not conscious, healer or not healer. Actually, we're all human beings. Mm. And there has been, what I can ascertain, is a high degree of sabotage of the divine child within every single one of us, not just light workers.
Yes.
And that term I use very loosely because it's totally open to interpretation and definition. I would say the sabotage of the divine child, of the innocence on this planet. And we could assign that to loads of different things and blame this, that, the other. But ultimately, we're still left in the same situation. It doesn't matter where we point the finger, whoever we blame. And we've tried very much on this world to fix problems outside of ourselves, all of the issues, and there are too many to count, and it's overwhelming, and people just go into panic and frozen mode, or they go into angry rebellion mode, and that doesn't help the divine child within us either. That doesn't heal the problem. So I would invite people just to go, well, what if that's not working so well? But what if I loved myself enough to meet all of those areas, like you were saying, Carol, all of those puzzle pieces that are displaced, that are fractioned off, and to be able to, with the power of unconditional love, bring everything back home, bring everything back to the heart, bring everything back to love, everything back to source. And from that place, we can really illuminate. We can all be light beings. Does that make sense to you? That's how I feel about it personally. And this ending of separation between I'm a this person, I'm a that person, I'm a whatever. We're all human beings. We're all on the same planet. We're all having the same energetic, like you were saying, Zissis, with the energies, the same intensity. There's nowhere to hide on this planet. There is real no separation. We're all in it together. And my personal feeling is that we need to really learn what unconditional love really means. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's why we're on this planet.
Yeah.
The Earth is the heart planet of the universe. You can even take the T at the end of Earth, or H at the end of Earth rather, and put it at the beginning and you get heart. I mean, it's kind of obvious. But on this planet, maybe people haven't realized, you know, when you have a bit of a galactic or universal perspective like you do, Carol, is the Earth is a planet to learn about love. It's all about the heart. Mother Gaia is all about the heart. It's all about unconditional love. The spirits that we breathe into our bodies are pure, absolute, unconditional love. We are designed for unconditional love. We come from unconditional love. And in order for us to really, you know, get ourselves back on track, it means coming back home consciously to the love that we are and loving every little part along the way and having no more separation.
Can I just say, can I share an experience with you? Because I was really thinking about it while you were talking, Tara. And I guess it was a couple of weeks ago now. But I was in a very altered state for a couple of days. And I had this dream stroke experience where I was really taken to the depths of the lowest I could go. And I was shown I wasn't even shown, I was in the negative energy and their space and how they operate and how they think and how they survive. And if you even imagine a ladder of light at the top and then different levels of light and then going into the grey area and then going down to the depths of the darkness, I was shown that the dark did come from source originally, yeah, but is so far removed from source now that they only have what I would term 2 or 3% of their soul essence within them. They're so far removed from source and the light and God, whatever you want to call God, that they only have 2 or 3% of their soul, love, light essence within them. And I was just thinking that when you were talking. And it's all tied in with the children that are being freed today and birthing the new earth and healing trauma, because and also grounding. So there's so much going on. It's overwhelming, but we actually do just need to come back to ourselves and be in our heart and heal our own shit and deal with our own stuff and our own wounded child, because we can't possibly try and heal the world because it's overwhelming. It's too much. What we can do is focus on ourselves and heal ourselves, because that in turn, when you go within and do that, even if you do it a tiny bit, 10%, that will have an effect on the outside world. So it's all about coming back to the heart and healing that. And also, just quickly, I would just like to mention that I really felt what you were saying about saying sorry to me for having experienced the childhood that I did, and thank you for that, because I really felt that in my heart. Having said that, I chose that before I came in. I chose that childhood. And I believe I chose, and I could be wrong, but I believe I chose it to heal myself from it. And also, and I don't think I'm done yet healing it. I really don't. And I also chose it because it was through the abuse that I left my body and connected to the Pleiadians, or they connected to me. So at those moments of abuse, it was almost like the Pleiadians knew what was going on and stepped in and connected with me so that I wouldn't forget, I wouldn't remember. So in the moments of darkness, there was great light as well. I just wanted to share that. I'm sorry.
No, don't apologise. This is such a big subject to talk about as far as I'm concerned. Zissis, did you want to share something about that? Or because I can totally jump all over this.
Yeah, there are a lot of strings that I want to kind of bring back together, and the trauma and the healing is part of that. And I agree with you, Tara, as far as calling work, because we as human beings tend to complicate things as part of the programming aspect of it. That's the sabotage again. Certainly all of this can be in a very joyous experience to go through and connect back into the source, our way of being. Healing, I think, healing ourselves as adults, because I believe all adults have some aspect of healing. Healing is one part, but it's also protecting our current children that are here and protecting their innocence, which I think is even more important, quite frankly, because that needs to be more well understood. We need to have more public discussions associated with that. And certainly with all the things that are happening with behind the scenes, and what you hear and what you don't hear, and what's conspiracy and what's not conspiracy. One of the things we talked about, Carol, was, we keep hearing about these children that are being saved, but yet there's no proof that there are children being saved. We don't have any pictures. We don't have any video of kids being pulled out of deep underground military bases. We don't have the cages that they were stored in. And so one hearing and listening and viewing this, thinking, is this real? Is this imagined? Is this a conspiracy story? But yet deep within my heart, I know that it exists.
And I mirror that, Zissis, word for word.
Yeah.
I think if we're all honest, we've all known it's been going on for a really long time. It's not new. This has been going on, I would say, as far as I'm aware. I mean, it goes back, to be honest, it's probably in so many ancient cultures, yes, and civilizations. It is a very old thing. But even if we go back, to the times when, the beginning of the second century, the second millennium rather, like back to the 1100s, 1200s, we know that child sacrifices were being made to build very important buildings in this country, in the UK, in all kinds of other places, and obviously as other, what can we call it, like capital cities around the world that hold great power, especially where as money is concerned, and centers of religion. Those very buildings that people go in to worship God and to have discussions about power were built on child sacrifices. This has been going on a very, very long time. Maybe people don't realize that, but we know the numbers of children that go missing every year. We're not imagining that, are we? That's not conspiracy. That's real.
That's fact, yeah.
Whether they are being rescued or not right now, that's on good faith, I think, and a feeling in the heart. And actually, I think it is really important, just to throw this in, that with so much information and misinformation happening, we really have to come back to our senses and actually dial back in and read our own barometers of what we know to be true and what isn't true. And this is going beyond what we can see and taste and touch or read or hear with our external normal senses.
Mhm.
But we all have the power for those senses to be very much plugged back within us so that we know what's true and we know what isn't. We are designed as human beings to know truth from not truth. We feel it in we've got multiple intelligence centers in our bodies, multiple dials, if you like, or compasses that let us know when something is okay and when it's not okay, when it's true and when it isn't true. But we've become so detached from ourselves, so plugged into out there, dependent on being fed externally, that we have really lost our senses, and with a lot of people losing their minds or lost their minds completely and become so dependent on a system that actually abuses. And it's vital that people come back and come back to themselves. So all of that is in the same vein for me. That comes back to, are you going to love yourself enough to get your shit together, to come back home to you? And it's not, for me, it's not just healing the heart, it's healing the entire human body, the entire human system, the mind, the emotions, the spirit, all of those things in between, because then you are grounded in the light and in the dark, in the above and the below, in the spirit and the earth. And you bring consciousness and love to all of that, and it's no longer dark or heavy or horrible. And from that place, that doesn't have to take so long. I think it takes a long time when we don't have the right tools, for one of, we don't know the right path. You'll be wandering all over the place going, I've been doing this for 20, 30 years. But when we have the right keys for the right doors to unlock those things, it actually doesn't have to take so long. And I think it's paramount that we as adults on this planet take responsibility for ourselves, take responsibility for our children, take responsibility for the earth, because it's a gift being given to us. And only then, when we really come back into our power and come back to our senses, then we can actually, protect and raise our children in a way that actually serves them. Because yes, protecting the children is everything. Saving those children is everything. And there are some hardcore measures that need to be taken in the short term on a very practical level to get those children out of danger. However, in the longer game, in the longer run, a lot of us don't know how to protect ourselves, let alone the precious little ones that, we don't know what our boundaries are. We've been stripped, if you like, and we've allowed that to happen. Maybe because we just didn't want to face up to it. Maybe because we were overwhelmed. But now is the time, very much so.
But I also believe, Tara, along with that, part of our traumas not allow that, but prevent us and allow us to give that power away. And that's a conscious decision on and an integration associated with that, right? And yeah.
But at which point do we say enough?
That's my question as well. I mean, we started in March. I saw, a lot of conversation on social media. We're in August right now, and it seems to me, with all that's going on, with all that's been revealed, with all the discussions that have, I mean, Carol, we were talking about Australia and how they're stripping away your rights if you don't get vaccinated. Right? Like, you don't have any rights as a human being until you get vaccinated. Maybe it's a broad stroke, but it kind of feels that way to me anyways. And my response to you when you told me this was, when is this going to be enough? And is this part of the ongoing programming? I was having a conversation with a friend, and they were telling me that, the powers that be, whoever they may be, whether it's the digital autocracy, whether it's the upper echelon of control, they have so many statistics that they know that when they push too much, having that break, then they can push back, right? So when they push the population to a point that there's going to break, well, they're going to dial it back. They have that degree of information, so they're aware when they're pushing the population. I don't know what you guys think about that, but it seems like everything's very much controlled and nuanced, so people don't break out and, protest or take back the control, as it were.
Well, I think it's what I've noticed within me is that, and I noticed a few years ago, I was saying this earlier to you, Zissis, that in 2009, I think it was, I noticed that whatever is going on with me is happening collectively, and it's about taking our power back. Right. It really is about taking our power back and not acquiescing and not stop looking to authority or doctors or lawyers or solicitors or even the police and politicians and TDs because we've got into this, the vast majority of people have got into this way of thinking where they believe that they have our best interests at heart, and they don't. They absolutely don't. Sorry for jumping in there.
No. So how do we begin the healing process? What are your thoughts on that? What is the journey going back into self-love, or a journey back into the divine child, as it were?
I actually think that this contrast is a really important part of our evolution. And you've probably heard it said so many times, you know, the darkest hour is always just before the dawn, and maybe the darkest hour has felt like a really long time, and the dawn seems to be like it's been going on for ages. But the thing is, it is a choice. We do have a choice, every single one of us. And a lot of people, you're right, have given away that power of choice, or are too scared. I think so many people are so scared of the threats, of the repercussions, of what will happen to them if they don't do as they're told, if they don't conform, if they do try and get their power back. And because of that level of fear, you can't be in your power and be scared at the same time. You can react from a place of fear, which is not the same as being in your power. And I think when we react out of fear and we try and kick back and push back, it's a bit like trying to fight the school bully on your own. It's not always that successful. It generally isn't, because they have so much power and they're used to that much power. And it feels like because of the media and because of everything we're shown, it seems that they have so much more power than we do, us tiny little humble human beings. And this is why doing it together as a collective, as a humanity, is so incredibly important. And there are people out there, there are leaders out there right now who are banging the drum of unity, of one world for everybody. We're one human, we're one species, we're one race, we're one. We're all of us one. Like I was saying, we're all on the same boat. But the thing is, it's kind of simultaneous. Yes, you have to do your self-love. You have to come back to your senses. You have to love yourself whole again. And I can totally help with that. And at the same time, what happens as a natural repercussion of us loving ourselves and those walls coming down and us reintegrating is actually we have more love and compassion for others, and we get more power, and the fear dissipates. So that journey from the inside out rather than the outside in, waiting for everything to be fixed so that you can come back and do yourself last. It's like, that doesn't work. It has to be the other way around. Come from the source within. And we need to remember, I think all people forget the power of unconditional love. It's like the power of a candle in a dark room. And when we all light our candles, that room is no longer dark. It's kind of magical. It's kind of incredible. And I see that that's what's happening on the planet right now. Something akin to that. People are lighting up. And it gets so dark and so heavy and so bad that something inside of us, something innate, it even bypasses the mind where you go, oh, I don't know what to do. And we go in that stalemate situation. Something very innate in us comes forward and says, we have an answer. Something has to change. And I'm going to do that now. Even if I don't know what that is, I need to do something. And that's just the power of the human spirit. That's the power of the heart. And the heart is, and you know a lot about this, Zissis, being a heart math coach, but the power of the heart and the power of unconditional love is the most powerful thing on this planet, and in my opinion, the whole universe. and I've done a lot of cosmic tripping and day tripping, not I have to be careful, not hallucinogenic tripping, but like, you know, what I'm just being playful there. You know, obviously as a soul reader, you know, getting into the Akashic records and seeing a tiny little bit about what goes on out there. But very clearly, it's been told to me and shown to me very clearly that unconditional love is the most powerful force in this universe. It is the power of the creator itself. And with a little bit of that, you can overcome so much darkness.
So, Tara, I've got a question for you about birthing the new earth and how we do that. And also the children, because I mean, word for word, I could repeat what Zissis said just now. I know in my heart, I know it because I feel it, that these children, that it's real and it's true, and it's been going on for centuries, probably since the negative ET energy came in to the earth, which I've seen was at the time of Atlantis. But, and also the Dracula the movies are starting to make a lot more sense to me now. But anyway, so birthing the new earth, how do we do that? And what do we do about the children? And what else did I want to ask you? Healing trauma from childhood. What do we do with, like, where are we at now with healing the shadow side of ourselves within that? Because I've been healing for a number of years, and I feel that the last couple of years I've kind of stopped and just been focused on work and what I'm doing. And it's kind of caught up on me now when my shadow or my inner child is having this huge tantrum and is being a complete bitch. and I can't avoid my gaze anymore. I have to turn and look at her, and I want to, but I don't quite know what's wrong, and I don't quite know, because I don't know what's wrong, or I don't know how to heal it, because I believe when you know what is wrong with something, then you can heal it. But also grounding as well, because we really do need to ground. So
for me, that all wraps up into the one same thing. It's like as you take care of one, the others start to take care of themselves. So I'm going to come back to the grounding part. So going again back to the children, what do we do about the children? Well, I mean, there's a lot of kids on this planet that need proper parenting and care. But I'm going to say again, how many parents are so sorted in themselves and healed and connected to their own child and connected to the unconditional love that they know how to properly parent their children? They don't. So on that scale of abuse, there's a very dark, deep hole of this like horrific, and dare I even say satanic abuse that's been happening to children for a long time. But there's also a world full of children that have some scale of abuse, even if that abuse is neglect or being, you know, poorly fed or whatever it is. There is so many children on this planet suffering. And I think that the children are so pure. Children have such a light about them. They're still so connected to their heart. They're still plugged into their senses, still so fresh from source, that it's a reminder to us of what this life is all about, what being a human being is all about. And it is so important to actually look at those children and because I think we turn away in our shame, Carol. I think we turn away, or in our helplessness. I don't know what to do. I'm helpless in your case, going, I don't know what to do, so I can't look at it. And I think that's why it's perpetuated this long, because we do feel helpless. And I just want to tell everybody, you're not helpless. Your love is all that's needed. And have we got enough love to look at the situation as, I mean, it's horrible to see when you've ignored something for a long time. Like, for example, you get your inner child, and let's say, you know, at the age of 5 or 10 or 12 or whatever, you shut her in a cupboard under the stairs or into the cellar. And you go, right, you stay there, I'm going to be a grown-up now. And 20, 30, 40 years later, you go, shit, my inner child needs me. You've got those 20, 30, 40 years of keeping her or him in a dark cupboard or under the cellar, to face as you go. You're not just going back to the child, you got to face all these things that you wanted to ignore. And that can be incredibly challenging. But when you have enough love, you will go through anything. People that love their children will do anything for their children, anything. And if we can have that much love for our children, and this is why I keep bringing it back to self-love, because we have to have enough love for ourselves to say, okay, I'm going to have to face my shit. I'm going to have to face my own wounds. I'm going to have to face my helplessness, my fear, the darkness that I wanted to turn away from. I'm going to have to face that. But love can be the guide back there. And with enough love, you can just actually move through it and heal, rescue our own inner child. And from that empowered place, actually parent the other children, because we now know what they need because it worked on us. We take our own medicine first. And I'm not saying ignore the children up until that point, because we could be waiting a long time. No, there are measures. We do need to just start coming from that place again of, oh my goodness, if I really love my child, what do I need to do? If I love the children on this planet, what do I need to do? How can I help? And meanwhile, always be going, as I love myself, so I will then love others. As I can care for myself, so then I'm better prepared to care for others. As I serve myself, so I can better serve others. Because we cannot come from an empty cup full of fear and helplessness and think that we can come back into our power and do anything meaningful on this planet. We can't. We have to reintegrate, become whole, fill our cups. And from that place, then it's like we can, really start to care for the children and put in measures that care for all of the children on this planet, not just our own children or our local children, but all of them. And I really see a way that we can do that personally.
So tell us a little bit more about that, Tara. What's that way? Because I know.
I'm not saying it's the only way either, by the way. I'm just saying this is a way that personally I've seen working and I believe in.
Right. Well, I'm a little bit more biased because I've had direct experience, and I've had a lot of modalities. I've experimented the circuitous route that you're talking about. I've actually lived it. And though that I had efficacy in some of those routes, it wasn't the deep experience that I've had within the 2 or 3 months already experiencing, me personally. And I know the more I commit to it, I'm watching my transformation happening now as I live and breathe in front of you. And that to me is an incredible, powerful, simple, transformative way of healing oneself. And so I would love if you can talk a little bit more about the program, how the program came to be, and anything else you may be called to talk about.
I'd love to. And also, just to your point, Carol, about the birthing of the new earth, for me, what I'm going to share about the I Love You Me is a way and a powerful way that we can actually do that. And I really want to talk about the birthing of the new earth as well, massively. And acknowledge as well, Zissis, I've seen your transformation and it has been absolutely incredible. And I'm so blessed because I see a lot of that. I literally get messages, emails from people every single day telling me that even if they just do the very first step and do breathe in a certain way and connect to themselves in a very simplistic way, the profound effects that happen in their life just because of doing it a tiny little bit. So the more that you really go into it and commit to that journey, to that path of self-love, the more powerful results you're going to have and the faster it's going to happen. And because you said, how are we going to do this? How are we going to birth this new earth, Carol? And the first thing that came into my heart was joyfully. Yes, there's horrible stuff happening on this planet, but we can still have that joy of our own reconnection and see it with different eyes, see the problem with different eyes. Still the same problem, but we can come at it from a completely different place. And to birth in joy, to birth in peace, to birth in bliss, to birth in an empowered way. And again, birthing ourselves first. It's the simple analogy, being on an airplane, right? What do they always tell you? Put your own mask on first, then you can help others, because you're useless to anybody else where you're running out of oxygen and dying on the plane. You know, you can't help anybody from that place. It's so simple just to remember that. So,
Let me,
quite a long time. So, go on.
Can I jump in here? Because I'm called to really talk about the breath and connecting with the breath. You've got an amazing meditation. It's free of charge on your website, iloveyoume.love. It's called Breathe and Receive. It is a process of the 7-step transformation. I'll share you about my experience associated with the breath. So I have a regular practice of meditation. I have had for a long time. I'm a Kriya Bond, so I've practiced Kriya, and that Kriya is more to do with spinal breathing from the perineum, or below the ground chakra up to the crown or bindu, and come back down on the front and exhaling. So that's a powerful way of rejuvenating. Breath is light, right? And how many of us are actually connecting in a conscious way to the breath? And the profound effect I had, Tara, when you led me through that particular exercise, was it blew me away, because I went into a depth and stillness within the 5 minutes, not even, I think it was, that I've had in years of meditation. I dropped into that depth and that connectedness of source in that breath in such a short, I'm still thinking about it. I'm still experiencing that profoundness, as it were. So it's a powerful motivator for me now to go even further. And the other thing I want to share with you as well is my breathing actually stopped here. As you know, Tara, my breathing, and I think you've mentioned, and most breathing and most people breathing stops here within the solar plexus. And within that 5 to 10 minutes, I actually broke through that solar plexus breathing pattern and went deep within my stomach area, or my creative center, second chakra, whatever you want to call it. And playing around with that now and going further into creating a clear channel for the breath to be received. Again, breath is light. Light is nourishment. Part of the birthing the new earth is nourishment. The light is the nourishment. So I'm very passionate about that, and I just want to share that with people.
Thank you, love. And also, it's grounding. Like, if you want grounding, this is an immediate tool for anyone that's feeling really disconnected, lost out there in the thoughts or in the astral of what could be, people that are too in their heads, people that are blocked in any part of their body, or people that just are feeling ungrounded, which I think is a lot of people right now. This is a very immediate and effective way of coming back into your body and reconnecting to yourself and to source. And there are a lot of amazing techniques out there, I just want to say, in terms of breathing. However, this one is basically like just leaving all of those to one side and not having any control at all, not having any technique. And it's simply coming back to remembering, it's not even remembering, coming back to receiving a breath.
Mm-hmm.
We've all been so entrained to give. And we've been told by some very powerful motivators, very powerful public speakers, very powerful religious leaders, that if, to be a good person, you have to give. Now that's very lovely, but it's not sustainable to do that all the time. And the very first thing that ever happened to us when we were born, just have a feel into that and have a little think. And there are, every cell in your body remembers this. Your water remembers this, your higher intelligence remembers this. But the very first thing you ever did, any of us, was to receive a breath. And therefore, we were alive. And we're still alive because we receive a breath. That's why we're still alive. And a lot of people don't want to be alive, or are scared to receive, because we've been heavily programmed that to receive is a bad thing. And when you receive, I see so many of my clients or people that I work with who are terrified of really opening up to receive, because in receiving their breath, they're scared something else is going to come in. It's like opening a doorway to the rest of the world that they've been trying to keep out with all the defenses and trying to stay in control of by giving to over the wall, over the fences. All right. But not actually just receiving that very first thing, that innate thing that we need, which is breath, which is life, which is the light, which is prana, is whatever word you want to call it. And when we do, and we just come back, and we have to be humble to go, yes, my entire existence, everything that we experience is simply based on receiving a breath every single moment. And so how much of us are receiving that breath unconditionally, the way it's being given to us? The breath is absolutely unconditional. And it's up to us to open up our little cups and be given to, and surrender and receive, and say, okay, something is bigger than me. Something is way more powerful, way more intelligent. And what is more powerful, more intelligent than the very thing that enables every single living thing on this planet to exist? What knows more about life than breath itself? Everything on this planet respires in some way. Every living thing. Breath is life. Breath is the most powerful teacher in my experience of what life is all about. And if we could just stop for a moment and receive a breath and become conscious of it and notice what we're being given in that moment, and let go of control and come back to the innocence, the innocent little one inside of us that used to be able to receive a breath unconditionally without any defenses, without any control. That is a very fast route back home to you and back home to your source and back into alignment with that intelligence within us. And it's very, very easy. Except it can be challenging to let go of everything you think you know and all those defenses. That's the resistance that comes up. And in a way, sometimes people are more afraid of the power that they have than of not having the power. Right? So it's actually, do I want to actually own my power? Do I want to receive this gift that I've been given of myself, my heart, my power that I have to love? Do I want to really come back and receive that and be unstoppable? To actually evolve. And I think we're on the precipice of an evolution of humanity. And this much suppression into what we're not, away from who we truly are, is a very powerful springboard to come back very quickly and rectify the whole situation very quickly. And if that first step is really just to receive a breath and to really connect with it with all of our senses. So the senses that we put out into the world all of the time, to actually turn them 180 degrees round and come back to ourselves. Right? Are you with me? So what does that look like? Right? Shall I walk you through it a little bit?
Love to, you could walk us through it.
Okay. What does it look like? In fact, should we just do it?
Yes, absolutely.
We just do it right now. We'll do a quick version, because otherwise, you know.
Well, let's do a quick version, and just I encourage everyone watching this right now, take the version that's on the iloveyoume.love. It's a free meditation, and doing that every single day, as you said, Tara, connects you to source and your clear channel, as it were.
Well, let's also give, I definitely do that. Oh, excuse me. And also give it a try. Like, people often don't want to try things that are new because they don't want to change. And sometimes people get very addicted to their fear and their poverty and their illness and their whatever it is that's holding them back. We get very attached to it and dependent upon it. And we don't know who we are without that anymore. So there can be a resistance to do this. And I just want to say again, if you would love to love yourself enough, if you want to try to love yourself and to, come from that place of love for all beings on this earth, then I really encourage you to just have a go at doing this, even if it feels weird at first, because you're not used to it. All right? We're not used to receiving. Go ahead.
Can I just ask you a quick question, Tara? Where does this information come from? Is it from the angelics, or can you share a little bit, just briefly, before you go into it? Where does it? Because I know it doesn't come from you.
No, you're totally right. No, you're totally right. This is completely normal. Actually, people want to know that if I, get your head engaged in the idea that it's a good idea, then maybe we can engage into it. This is usually what happens. Okay, so. I mean, I'm going to try and give a long story short. Okay, I was raised in a very incredible situation where
yeah, quite unusual and sacred and almost divine, really.
It was very blessed. I mean, I'm like every other person. I've had horrible things happen to me. It's not been easy. It's not been good. A lot of, I used to suffer from depression and suicidal thoughts and feelings even as a teenager. However, shit's happened, okay, and I'm not going to go into that. I've had my own struggles. However, well, going right back, first of all, my mum, when she was pregnant with me, was in a car accident. She wasn't hurt, but I was about 3 or 4 months in utero at the time, and 2 hospitals told her that I was no longer alive and she didn't have a baby in her womb. But my mum happened to be a devotee at the time. This is way back in the early 70s. Her and my father, they were devotees to an incredible enlightened child guru who was known at the time as Guru Maharaji. He's known now as Prem Rawat. He's a beautiful human being who goes around the world talking to people about inner peace and self-knowledge and all about the heart, actually. It's the same message he's talked about for the last 40, 50 years. He's an amazing human being. And my parents recognized him at that time as an enlightened master. And they were very much in that space of the devotees, listening to his satsang, being in that beautiful energy of love, of the teachings that he gave. And so my mum didn't really take what the hospitals had told her seriously. She was like, she felt her own body. She knew I was still there, and she just held me in her womb. And 2 months later, it was almost 2 months, just short of 2 months later, I came back online and was back in her tummy and was, well, not back, obviously my body was still there. And but anyway, I was in the womb for like 11 months and was born perfectly normally. But for those almost 2 months, I was officially dead. So that kind of has an aspect to do with it, because there's an aspect there of my soul that's just here that, was always meant to do this. And with a very human part of me, it's like the divine and the human, like all of us, in this one body. But anyway, I was raised in this environment with this beautiful guru, which to me was, I never saw another human being speak with that much truth and that much light. And so I grew up in that whole environment of very much staying connected to the truth of what was true and what isn't true, and knowing truth very clearly, and also being an absolute devotee to the light and to hearts and to my heart and to love. However, many, many stories later and many life experiences later, I realized that in my late 20s, that I was very intuitive, very psychic, and very, very empathic. And that what I'd been doing all of my life so far is actually being able to read people's soul energy, which, and the soul is everything. It's the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual realms of life. It's everything, essentially. Some people might say it's being able to read the Akashic, but it's like being able to read each individual's library of their soul, of everything that's ever happened to them. And then, of course, we're all like a library within the giant library of the universe. So I've been able to do that. And so I started seeing clients, people started coming to me, and I would read their souls and see basically why they chose to come into this body, why they chose their parents, like you, Carol, saying that there was a soul conscious choice to do what we did. And that was very clear, and I used to tell people that. And also I could see where people had in this lifetime and in other lifetimes, or in their soul records, repeated the same things again and again and again, which tripped them up, which got them stuck, which got them into their disempowerment, and made things go, wonky and not enable people to come into their fullest potential. So I would be telling people this, like what I could see, but I didn't have any way of helping them clear that conditioning, clear that trauma, clear that damage in this lifetime or any other, I would just read it. And so I was like, God, I need something that can actually help people get on track with their fullest potential and clear this past stuff and be who they're meant to be, and fulfill their destiny, if you like. And so I was asking that, and because I can see the energies, I can see what's going on in people's minds and bodies and hearts and their emotions and everything, I could see what was working and what wasn't working, right?
Can I just ask you, how do you see it? Do you see it visually, or is it a thought, or is it audible? Like, how do you see it?
That's a whole another conversation in a way. Yeah, I'll come back to that if you don't mind, Carol, because that's a whole another conversation. And a really fascinating one that I'd love to do with you another time. But so essentially, and I could, obviously I'm watching how people breathe, and I'm seeing that people breathe so shallowly as to avoid triggering all that buried emotional stuff. It's like, and also the space that people's spirit occupied in their body. Let's say you have, let's use this glass water as example. If this is our body, this material, dense stuff here, and the water is the spirit, I was seeing that people's vessels had tiny little trickles, most people, tiny little trickles of the spirit coming into the body, and the majority was up here. And kind of lost, fragmented in different spaces. Parts of the person were lost like a little memory capsule, like time capsules. I would see memories locked like little time capsules. This happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And they were unresolved traumas, fragmented, and not enabling them, their spirit even, to be fully living in the body as this water is coming right down to the bottom. That's how our spirit needs to be in our body for us to be fully engaged, empowered, healthy, happy human beings. Like, that's fulfilling our soul's potential, is engaging the spirit fully into the body. And I'm seeing that virtually everybody, if not every, I say virtually because I haven't read all people on the planet, of course, but the ones that
I'm sorry.
There's too many. No, but the ones that I have seen, obviously, nobody's spirit was fully connected into their bodies. It was tiny little trickles. And so it was like, okay, something's really wrong here. So I would ask, how do we get the spirit back in the body? How do we birth into the body, right? Birth, and almost birthing our light bodies as well. Birthing the light body of our spirit into the physical body and engaging the two so completely that then we have that third element. Something happens in that moment, a third experience, if you like, right? We're spirit, we're body, you put the two together, boom, you've got something else. You've got the true human being. You've got the fullest potential, which is unbelievable. So it was like, how do we get our spirit in the body? And the very first thing I learned was about breathing. And when we can fully receive the breath as it's given, a bit like if I had a bottle right now and I could just we could turn on a tap from source, let's say, and just allow that spirit to fully come into the body, and we could receive it unconditionally. That starts to fill up all of the holes, all of the spaces, all of the gaps inside of us, and bring us back into wholeness with that divine spirit that we are. And everybody's breath is the lifeline, is that direct expression of spirit. We all know when we stop breathing, the spirit leaves the body. It's been scientifically proved. There's a body measurement, like the body weighs less as that spirit leaves. There's a certain density to it, even though it's invisible and it's light. It has a certain density. So it's like, as we breathe, so we embody. So what has to happen? We have to breathe in a certain way and get out of our own way and just start to receive unconditionally. And so I would watch people do this, and I would guide people to do it, and I could see how much then they were starting to clear and embody themselves just by doing this one thing. And there's 6 other steps after this, which really makes it do, the whole job. But even this one thing is super powerful. And that makes sense, right? That's not woo-woo. That's not cosmic. That's for everybody. Like, everyone can do that. And that's the thing with truth. Truth is for everyone. And we need a solution right now that is actually for everyone, that everyone can do, regardless of what background you come from or what age you are or what state of health you're in.
Yeah.
right? It makes sense. Breathing is everything. Breathing is life.
You know, I have a thing about woo-woo. You know, this is the scientific community that's a relatively young community talking about something that's been much, much older, thousands of years. You know, you talk about traditional Chinese medicine, it's been much, much, much older than conventional medicine. So this is an ongoing war that's happening between allopathic conventional science and actual stuff that has worked. And there was a schism in the 20s, and I won't go into it anymore, but all of us are requiring answers. And when people speak wanting something for their souls, something that they're all hungry for, thirsty for, it has a resonance. It has a resonance. So I ask all of you as you're watching this, thinking about the breath, how does that resonate with you?
Yeah. And how much are you breathing right now? Like everyone can notice just where their breath is.
Yeah.
Right? How much you receive and how much consciousness you give and love and attention and gratitude you give to your breath. Because literally you don't breathe, you've got nothing.
Tara, talk to me about the consciousness. This is a very interesting point about consciousness and breath. For lay people that may not be or not have the nuances, what does that mean exactly?
Okay, so literally we all have a personal awareness, don't we?
Yes.
And it's like a little headlight, you know, I see it as like the headlight, you know, like a miner's light on the hat or the camping light that you have. It's literally taking that ability to be aware, which again, we plug into everything else. We're aware of this and that person and this person and that, you know, but have we turned that ability to be aware and plugged it back into ourselves and become self-aware? And a lot of times I think people think that self-awareness means that, well, I am self-aware, I know I'm here, I can think, therefore I am, and I'm aware of my thoughts, therefore I'm self-aware. And I would say that's like saying you're aware of the lid on the bottle when you've got the rest of the bottle to be aware of, for me. And just going to your point, Zissis, what you were saying about the war between allopathic and natural medicine, orthodox and allopath. There is just so many wars, right? How many wars have we got going on this planet? Between masculine and feminines, between blacks and whites, between whatever. Yeah. How many wars? And those wars are, in my opinion, or from my observation, a direct result of the separation in our own selves. Yes. Because where we become separate, right, you pull the spirit or you disenable, I don't know what the right way to say that is, disable the spirit from being in the body. Why? Because the body in them has become so full of emotions and toxicity of fear, hatred, guilt, resentment, whatever, negativity, and other people's stuff that we've absorbed. I did a video on this the other day about empathy and how much we absorb other people's energy. And Carol, you would totally understand that one, right? Totally. And it's like we sink into ourselves and it fills up our emotions such that it makes our body unhealthy and sick, because if our emotions are unhealthy, it's going to directly affect the cells. Because emotions essentially, you know, travel in the water, connected to the water in the body. Everything is water in the body. And when we get a very sick, toxic environment, and it's like, we don't want to breathe into that. It feels horrible. It's too difficult. It's too challenging. So the spirit stays out of the body, like I was saying. And in that gap between the spirit and the body, there's all this other stuff. We'll become incredibly vulnerable to all this other stuff filling up the space. Now, when the spirit and this has got a lot to do with birth, by the way, I just want to say the way, and very quickly, again, I could talk about this.
It's all connected.
Everything really into the breath. Totally. This is the ultimate bridge. The ultimate bridge that we need to build is between our spirit and our body, because where there's a gap, all kinds of crap gets in.
I think that's the key, Tara. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I've got to say it because otherwise I'll forget it. But I think that's the key, is connecting the spirit to the body. I think that's crucial.
It's all there is, because if you don't, you're not a full human being. We're dysfunctional in that because we're lacking energy, lacking source, lacking light, lacking inspiration, literally lacking the inspiration of our breath. And so what happens is, it's a bit like if you have a house and you decide to only live in the attic, and let's say your house has about 7 floors, and you only decide to live in the attic because everything underneath you is all full of crap of other people's stuff and your old stuff and your old childhood stuff and all the stuff you wanted to get over and forget and just bury and get past and move on. And we end up living up here somewhere, so that actually most of us are living very top heavy in our heads, and it's a mess up there. We don't know our left from our right anymore. Everything has become messy and dysfunctional, or highly organized and highly controlled, so there's no room for anything, new to come in. And it's like, this is not how to be a human being. You may as well go into AI if all you want to do is live in your head and negate the rest of it. It's like, but why would you do that when you're a human being? When you have more than just a mind, you have so much more, so much more. And when we begin to really breathe into the rest of the bodies and aerate and literally breathe through and clear out all the other toxic emotions, refresh the body, come back and put life, real elemental stuff, the kiss of life back into every single cell of our bodies, we illuminate. We're not just healthy, we literally illuminate. Those cells must get healthy, and it's a process. Our cells take a little bit of time to get healthy.
So,
and that's the environment. It's the inner environment. It's the inner bridge building. And when we do that, we immediately have, right, as within, so it is without. So as we do this within, our immediate environment instantly transforms. We relate to it differently. It is different. It's that like the 100 monkey effect, it's like you start to have a resonance, you start to impact everything around you. And we can do this. There's enough of us awake enough who can hear this message, who it makes sense, not just up here makes sense logically, it makes sense everywhere else. Your whole body starts going, yes, and you don't even know why. It's because you recognize the truth. I'm not telling you something new. I'm telling you something you already know. We all already know. And there's enough of us on this planet at this time awake enough who go, I can do that. Show me how, and let's do it. And we can have a huge impact on the planet very quickly.
So let's illuminate that. Why don't you take us through the exercise? Because I know that I'm anxious, and I know as people are listening to you, I know that they're saying, take us through the exercise.
Help me already.
Right.
No, Carol did a really good job of building that up. Well done. And both of you. Thank you. Okay, it's so easy. I just want to say it's so easy. But first of all, before I invite you to do this, I'm gonna tell you we're gonna do 3 things you're probably not used to doing. Okay, as a precursor. Well, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, but that's not you. Second thing I'm going to invite you to do is to breathe with your mouth open. And people try and do this exercise, and I've seen it hundreds of times, where people try and do what I'm inviting them to do with their mouth closed, and it actually doesn't work. So I really encourage, and I'll tell you why while we're going through it. The third one is I'm going to invite you to bring your hands to your body and engage your touch with your own body, and to sense and feel everything that's happening inside as you do this. It's like you can engage it's if you've got eyes in the palms of your hands and you can see and you can feel. And I invite you, right? And I invite you to hold yourself in the way that you would hold a beloved or a child. So you actually register your touch and you receive it into your body and connect inside. And the third thing I'm going to invite you to do is to talk aloud to yourself as well. Obviously, you can breathe without talking, but I'm going to also engage you in a conversation with yourself. And I invite you to say these things out loud for your own ears to hear it, and in your own language, whatever language comes first for you. It's so easy. First of all, just notice where you're at right now. Probably holding your breath, probably got tension. So first of all, just soften the body. It's a bit like taking, exactly, you both did it naturally, taking a sigh, like, Really just letting yourself take a deep sigh in through the mouth. And then letting it go. And you're also allowed to make a sound. You know, everyone's allowed to go, and let go. And first of all, just notice up in the head, where most of us are spending the majority of our time. And just notice that up here in your head is like a little mini me, a little mini version of you that's always trying to keep control of everything, that's trying to keep track of everything, put the pieces together, figure it out, get it right, get it right, get it right, get it right. And I would just invite you to acknowledge that part of you in your head, or that little you up in your head, and soften the mouth, soften the jaw, and allow yourself to receive a breath in through the mouth and up into the head almost, as if you're going to give yourself some oxygen up there in that brain of yours. And that little mini me that lives up there to receive the breath and be like, oh yeah, like a breath of fresh air, literally into a stale old attic. And invite that little mini you to sit right in the center of your head, to come away from the control panel at the front, come away from that desk of thinking, and go right to the center of your head. And there's a light there, there's a golden light right in the middle of your head for everybody. It's just there. You just let yourself sink back into that center space, right where the light is. And not so far back that you start to go into the darkness and fall asleep. But just stay there right in the middle and breathe. And let the breath come up into the center of your head where that little mini you is, into the light. And then, and as you breathe out, let that breath give you permission to soften and soften down as the breath goes out. We're just connecting with your consciousness, with your awareness. That's all that's happening. And begin to soften the face even more and soften the whole head. Allow your cheekbones to soften and the back of the eyes and the temples. Allow your jaw to soften. You can even use your fingers ever so lightly if you want, just to touch with real tenderness all around your jaw, around the back of the ears, around the throat. And you've all got your eyes closed. You don't need to worry about what you look like with your mouth hanging open, and just go, receive that breath up into the head and let that little you receive it like a little wave underneath you, and then dropping you down ever so gently. And you can just let that breath come pick you up, hold you, and then release you down. And you begin to sink and soften down through the center of your head. As if you're gently falling right through the core of you. And you can notice what it looks like and feels like inside. Just keep your eyes open on the inside. Noticing how it feels to soften the jaw even more, to get your teeth out of the way, to put your tongue down and just relax. And notice how it feels to receive a breath from that beautiful, soft, open mouth. How soft the breath is across the tongue. And then let your awareness soften right down into your throat, sinking down. And let it sink down a little bit more so you're with your upper chest. It's like letting yourself sink down with every single breath as it ever so gently lifts you up, ever so slightly, just a little bit to let you know it's got you and you can relax and rest in it. And then it drops you down just that little bit deeper down into the top of your heart. And you can really hold yourself wherever you are as your awareness just begins to drop deeper and deeper down. And as you do so, you just soften the shoulders, you relax the chest, relaxing the spine. You just let your whole body start to become really heavy. Not doing anything, just letting go. Let the breath come into your heart. You'll notice that as you receive this breath, it's like a little soft waterfall coming down your throat now and into your body, dropping you down deeper into your solar plexus. And you can keep taking that sigh if it helps you to really let go, and softening the spine all the way down, letting the body get heavy. Letting your tummy open, letting everything expand on the inside as that breath just pours down inside of you. And there's your awareness, that little mini you just receiving, being given to. Notice how it feels. And you can let go. And the breath will drop you a bit deeper, right down into your tummy. You can follow it down with your hands so you're holding yourself. And you let that breath drop you even deeper, right down into the very basin of your pelvis. And really stay focused on how it feels to receive every single breath that comes in. It invites you to soften and open on the inside. Gently brushes against your body on the inside. Gently kissing you awake, kissing you into life, into all those parts of you maybe you've never met before. And it's so soft, and yet it's so powerful. And you can drop all the way down to the bottom of you. And you can just do that if you like with your breath. And just notice yourself being breathed, with your body so soft, so passive. Just like how it was when you had your first breath as a tiny little baby, just born. So passive, so soft. Letting your body be heavy. And receive that breath in all the way down, right to the bottom of you where you are. And just feel. Feel what it is to be breathed into life. Feel what it is to have this physical, dense, heavy body holding you. Got nowhere to fall. And in this moment, you're completely held and safe and protected. Keep receiving. And release and let go. Now see how it feels when you say this out loud to yourself. Just simply say, hello me.
Hello me.
Breathe the words back in. Don't leave them hanging in the air, but breathe them back in and let them land. Like a medicine being drunk. Let those words sink into every little part of you that needs to hear that beautiful acknowledgement. Hello me. And simply say to yourself, thank you for being here, me.
Thank you for being here, me.
Right now.
Right now.
In this moment.
In this moment.
In this breath.
In this breath.
Breathe and receive and feel. And say, thank you, me, for being in this body right now. I feel you. I've got you. And keep breathing every word in like it's a precious medicine. Soft open mouth, soft jaw, soft throat, soft chest, soft tummy. Ah. Say, well done, me.
Well done, me.
Thank you for receiving.
Thank you for receiving.
And being here right now.
Being here right now.
Breathe and receive. Just feel everything that's happening. Every little, tiny little feeling and thought and sensation. And say to yourself, I love you, me.
I love you, me.
Breathe it in. Let the breath deliver those words wherever they need to go without any control. Let those words be like raindrops to the desert inside of you. Soak them up. Let them go wherever they need to go. Ah. And you can even say, thank you, breath.
Thank you, breath.
Thank you, life, for breathing me.
Thank you, life, for breathing me.
Every single moment I'm alive. Breathe and receive. Ah. And you can really let go of the tension that you're holding in all of the resistance that you've had against receiving, against breathing, against just coming back to you. Sometimes you really want to move the body because you notice where all the energies got stuck. Now you can just give yourself a hug, really anchor it into the body. You're here right now in this body. You're a gift, actually, to yourself. This body, this breath is your gift to you so that you exist. Just take that in. Notice how it feels. And actually, it's so lovely. You can just keep receiving and keep receiving and keep receiving and keep staying in there. So that's the short version. How does that feel? I mean, you can feel like the energetic difference, right? It's tangible. You can feel it.
Yeah, I feel grounded, and yet I didn't want to come back, even though I didn't feel like I was going out like I normally do. I normally go out and leave. I felt here and present, but I also didn't feel. I also felt like I didn't want to come back, even though I wasn't, gone.
Where did you not want to come back from? What did that feel like where you were?
Present. I felt present and in my body.
Yeah. And how did it feel? What other feelings did it have for you, that presence, that in the body feeling? Did it feel kind of nice or not so nice?
Different parts of my body felt different. And I've had quite a lot of, I've had diabetes. I have diabetes and I have fibromyalgia. So some days I can't get out of bed, so different parts of my body feel different. Like my arms felt different to my legs,
I was feeling it actually with you, Carol. And you know what? You're a psychic, you're an empath, you're an intuitive, you're a channel. Most everybody who's doing that kind of work is so out of their body that their bodies get really sick.
Yeah.
Right? And I was there. That was me.
Tell us about that, Tora.
First of all, can I just check in with Zis? How did you find that, Zis?
It's always a profound level for me. The more I surrender, the more I allow myself to release, the deeper I go. And that, I wrote a post about that, being natural and loose. That's the most interesting part for me, because once you overcome the resistance, this fear of losing control or whatever may be in your mind,
Losing a sense of self sometimes.
losing your sense of self. You're absolutely correct. And that's the fear for most people. And I when I surrendered to that, because I had that preconceived idea, when I totally surrendered to that, it was a depth of awareness. It felt very familiar to me. And
Right.
yeah, it is source, right? It is that connection to source. And that's
It's
what
just
I'm,
who we are.
Yeah.
It's, the thing is, that is who we are. The
Yeah.
identities that we superimpose are not really ours, and they're not really real. They're a collection of other people's identities that we've borrowed from and constructed to give us a sense of who we are, but it's not actually who we are at all. We're actually something far greater, far more amazing than we can even imagine, but we just haven't actually opened the box of our gift, taken the lid off, take the lid off, and just go in and see the gift and experience the gift that we've been given, which is this body, this life, and the incredible amount of untold joy, bliss, divinity, love, profound genius, talent, skills, creativity. Everything is inside this gift. And we won't get that unless we take the lid off and start going into our gift and start receiving what we've already been given.
Mm.
In doing that, when we, receive who we are, our capability on this planet is exponential, collectively exponential, personally exponential. You go off your own chart of what you thought was possible. You start fulfilling who you're truly designed to be. And it is literally that simple. But it can be the scariest thing.
It's so simple. I would imagine it's the work that the powers that be do not want you to do, because it's that transformative. It's that transformative, and it's that connective with each other. Once you allow that to be, you actually connect in a much more meaningful way with every human being. And again, sorry, go ahead, Tara.
No, I keep interrupting. I'm so sorry. Go. So carry on.
Again, I would encourage, as people have gone through this experience with us just now, I encourage comments below wherever you're watching this, if it's on Facebook, if it's on YouTube, whatever channel you're watching this, I encourage you to bring your comments down and share your experiences. Why is that? It's the human experience that binds us together. Understanding what you went through, automatically I compare with that. It's like, wow, I had a similar experience, or I had similar experience than that. So I encourage everyone to share their experiences. Mm-hmm. It's when we begin to understand we're having a shared reality in that way, it actually is a very powerful thing.
That's what everybody wants, right? We all want connection with each other. And we get the most connection with each other when we first get connection with ourselves. This is step one, connect to yourself. That's just a connection step. There's more after that. But if you like that feeling of connection, even just for that split second, and you want more of that, then just keep practicing that breathe and receive, get more connection to you. You will then far more easily get connection with others, because we come back to what really binds us. And everybody loves, everybody wants love, everybody wants peace, everybody wants happiness, everybody wants health and well-being, everybody wants to fulfill their potential, everybody wants harmony, and connectivity. That's what all of this AI and all the technology is all about, is connectivity. And it's like, actually, we've got far more connectivity when we connect with ourselves, and then we connect from an empowered place where we're activating all of our extrasensory awarenesses, and they're not extrasensory anymore. They just become normal, and actually we can connect with each other in extremely powerful ways. I just want to do you mind if I get a little bit deep about this, actually, deeper? What you said, you said the powers that be wouldn't want us to do this. From my perspective, the powers that be really do want us to do this, because those, like you were saying right back in the beginning, Carol, those people that you think may have only 2 or 3% of their soul essence still in there intact, I would say those ones are the ones asking for this the most. Those people that are most lost, most disconnected from themselves, from source and from love, they're the desperate ones. Those ones need more love than anybody on this planet right now. And because we all know that, you know, what a cry for help looks like, right? And sometimes, and we all know, we all do this. We all play hide and seek a little bit as children, when it's like in our desperation or need to be acknowledged, we tend to hide away and make it difficult for somebody to come and find us or rescue us. And then the moment somebody might offer us a solution or give us what we need, we'll move a little bit further away, as if to challenge them and say, hey, come get me. You know, like, do you really love me? 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 Right? Are you with me? Like, do you really love me? I'm going to test you. And it's a bit like, and then we can get really lost in that, and go really dark, get into really dark, deep holes that can be so hard to get, if not impossible to get out of, or seemingly impossible to get out of. And those beings who have got themselves into such a deep, dark place, I would say they're the ones saying, please come find me. And that's why we're seeing all of this stuff come to the surface right now. The dark, nasty, heavy, evil stuff that's coming to the surface, more visible than ever before, is a cry for help, saying, I need saving from myself. I'm stuck. I want to say the F word. I'm fucked. I'm lost. I'm deep in the darkness. I can't get out. You know, and we see it with serial killers. We see it with murderers. They always leave the clues. They leave the breadcrumb trail back to themselves, so that somebody eventually stops them and says, hey, you know, and they get rescued from themselves. Personally, I feel like that's what's really going on. So if those of us that are more aware, more conscious, more awakened, more interested in love on this planet, if we can not do that come find me game, and actually just go, you know what, I'm not going to leave it to somebody else. I'm not going to leave it to some other grown up, to my parents to apologize to me, to take responsibility, or I'm not going to wait for the government to take responsibility. I'm not going to wait for some other bigger, higher person, some grown up to come take responsibility. I'm going to do this, because this you can do. This we can all do. You know what I mean? And it begins, it's like, you know, I could get too into that.
Well, that's exactly what we need to do. We need to just take responsibility for ourselves and go with that, and stop waiting for someone to come and save us or help us or rescue us or
absolutely
someone else to take responsibility. We need to be the ones. So, and I really,
get back in that body. And I think that taking responsibility for our own self-love and that self-reconciliation, that self-homecoming, is the most powerful act of service we can do on this planet right now for all other beings everywhere. Because if you're lit up, if you are whole and intact and lit up from within, not only are you leading by example, but you become a beacon for others, and they can be, hey, what are you doing? And you can share, and everybody can share this. Everybody can share it.
Yeah. So for those who are listening, it really starts with you. It really starts with us. You know, we have to be the ones that lead the way within ourselves. And
Carol, how was that experience for you? I was curious about the experience you may have had.
With the meditation, breathing?
Yeah, with the breathing.
It's something I want to do a lot more of. I really want to get Tara's book as well and start doing the free meditations, because I found that really helped. I felt like I was in my body.
Right.
I didn't want to leave. I felt comfortable being there, but different parts of my body did feel different. Like my legs felt different to my arms, different type of, because I get a lot of muscle heaviness.
Right.
Yeah, you need
and
more oxygen. You literally just, on a scientific level, you need more oxygen into the body.
I know, which is one of the excuses I use when people haven't got a mask on.
Right. So Carol,
Everyone should not have a mask on personally, because, the most vital thing everybody needs to do to stay sane and healthy is to breathe. And so wearing a mask definitely hinders that process, apart from anything else. That's really important.
Carol, I would be very interested in your journey as you continue with this breathe and receive. We've got the first breathe and receive that you've received. And I would love, as we have these collective Zoom calls, maybe sharing with us at that point in time, where are you? What's changed, if anything? What are you feeling? I would love to really understand that. And, if it's anything like myself, I've been in this now for 4 months, I believe, and it's transformed me. It's that simple, and that's transformative. So I'm really curious to see what your experience is.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Amazing. So
we could all do that. Can I just jump? I'm sorry, I keep interrupting, but we could all do that. I have a Facebook group, and I know lots of people don't like being on Facebook anymore. For me, there's still very many people there that, an oasis within the quagmire, so to speak. And we have a Facebook group called Self-Love Evolution. And if anybody, gets that meditation and they want to, connect with others who are doing this as well, who are on that journey, and you want to talk about your experience and share your experience and share the journey together.
Yes.
Because self-love is not a lone journey. We are not here alone to be alone. It is about our community is part of that. I love myself enough to surround myself with the right people and the right community that support my growth, that support my evolution, and we do it together. So that's why it's called Self-Love Evolution, like self-love evolution, and come together and share their experiences there together and be there for each other.
Actually, this is an important point, Tara. I'm so sorry, Carol. Let me finish this point.
No, it's okay.
I'm hopping in.
We are at 2 hours, Tara and Carol.
No, you're kidding me. No, really?
We are at 2 hours, and it has gone by like this. I am so switched on right now with what's happening. It's absolutely magic.
We haven't even started going into the whole new earth, new birth, birthing the new earth.
Timelines.
Another video, maybe.
Oh my God! See, now I forgot.
Well, the thing is, this message is important. Breathing is everything. If you are not breathing, you are not really living, and it's really important to live right now.
Yes.
Tara, can I just ask you, is it, I kind of know the answer already, but is it Archangel Michael that
I knew you wanted that answer. No, yeah, definitely. Where the breathe and receive didn't come from Archangel Michael, but the other steps that I use, basically, when I was doing that soul reading stuff and I was asking for guidance, I was getting the guidance already from my connection that I have with Source already, like I shared with my childhood and my spirit, and you want to call it my higher self, my spirit, my whatever. But what also started happening is other light beings started showing up that I wasn't aware of before. And I had a little being, well, it sounds really funny the way I say it, but it was like I just saw this monk here with the classic, brown hooded robe, sitting here, like a small version here. And every time I was doing soul readings, he would come and I, like I said, my barometer for truth is pretty spot on, but I was doing the truth test and are you for real? And it was like really for real. So, okay, I'm going to listen to you, because not everything that comes to you in light or in spirit is of the light and is of the absolute truth. It can be a false light. It can be a complete intruder, a complete con artist. So be careful about that. So I checked him out and he was like, no, I'm good. So I listened to this monk person for about 2 years. And this whole method was kind of sculpted as he was teaching me all kinds of stuff. Amongst that stuff was words and keys and how to undo karma and how to just heal the whole human condition, really, and bring us back to our divine selves. And so we kind of crafted the rest of the I Love You Me method together in that way. Ages later, I'm in a festival doing a soul reading with a friend in a tent, and he suddenly manifests, and it was Archangel Michael, and he was just this enormous, golden, hot, amazing being. I was like, whew, wow. And it had been him the whole time, and I hadn't realized. I wasn't aware of angels and archangels and names for things. I was just seeing all these different energies, and hadn't kind of assigned names, but turned out to be Archangel Michael. And then a lot of other things made sense. It's like, oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
And have you connected with any of the other archangels or any other deities or beings in the same way, or is it mostly Michael?
No, there's been a lot of other teachers that I've had from that divine realm, definitely.
How about Jesus?
Yep, and Jesus.
Yeah, I felt that with you. I felt that because when I was 12, I was on the verge of committing suicide, actually, and taking tablets, and I had an out-of-body experience with Jesus where he came to me, and I was distraught when I left, like distraught, and I was gone for about 3 or 4 hours, and then when I came back, I was blissful, so blissful for about 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And it gradually ebbed away.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was quite a profound experience for me.
You were very protected, Carol. You know that. You were very protected because there's so many people and children are traumatized, but instead of having the angelic beings or the Pleiadians or some, high frequency love beings like Jesus coming to them to help them, they're actually letting in all kinds of other entities which are not good for them. That's what trauma does. It leaves you wide open to all kinds of other energies coming in. And that's where a lot of that self-love, you come back in, and this is what I was going to say about the house thing, by the way, Z's, come back to what you were going to say in a minute. But when you fully own your body in your spirit, there's no room for anybody else's energy. You are so protected from the inside out. There's no need for external protections because love is the only protection you need, that unconditional love. And when you really embody your whole spirit fully anchored in, nothing else can touch you. Nothing else can get in, whether it's human or otherwise. It just can't. So that's a point that's important to say.
Wow. Yeah, no, thank you, Tara. I was really protected. I mean, even though I had, it was horrible. It was hell. But I was really protected. Looking back, I can see how I was really protected because some of there was a young boy called Simon something. I forget his name now, but he was actually, there was a lot of satanic stuff in the school. And I didn't realize it until recently, where not fully realize it, but there was a young boy that was murdered through I think they call it a snuff movie. And he was at my school, and then there was a lot of other stuff. I've got some really strange memories of I'm not going to go into that, but yeah, some strange memories where the other kids were talking about blood and drinking blood, and really strange. So I think I was really lucky. I was very on the,
I think I want to say all children, because there might be some people out there who are thinking, well, I wasn't protected. I didn't have that. Why did you and not me? And then we have this thing, God only loves some people and not others. And therefore, is that a real God? And all that whole thing, we can go into that. So I just want to say from my perspective, every single human being on this planet is loved unconditionally. By the mere act that you breathe, you are being unconditionally loved by that breath. You might not have recognized your breath as love. Some people recognize it as a torture or a punishment to be on this planet. I certainly used to feel that way massively. That's why I didn't want to be here either. But actually, in truth, when you get to know your breath by connecting with it and begin a relationship with it, you realize it's only there to give to you, and it is unconditional love, and that you are divinely protected you're still alive, you're divinely protected. And even those that pass over into the next life, or who pass on, they're still loved, because the energy that created all life on this planet, in this universe, all humans, is the energy of unconditional love. Whether we receive it or not is another matter. Whether we realize it or not is another matter. And it's simply up to us to have the consciousness. And some people have such horrific lives that they can't see the light in the darkness. They can't see that they're protected, because the focus is on all the bad stuff. And I just want to say, every single person has been protected. You had an awareness that enabled you to stay switched on to that, whereas other people, other children, would not have had that same awareness to be switched on to it. Does that make sense? Mm. All children are loved. All people on this planet are loved equally. And that's really important. And if you don't feel that way, and you feel super traumatized that, why weren't you protected? Come back to the breath. And as you do so, you will have realizations, and that healing can begin. And you'll realize that it's always been there for you, and will always be there for you. And it will change your perspective. And that's healing. That's what needs to happen.
So as we are past the 2-hour mark in this incredible conversation, I'm so blessed and grateful for both of you contributing in the way that you did. It seems like we're going to have to do a part 2 and really talk about birth.
Part 3 and all Carol's questions.
Well, on that note, all the viewers as well, as they're watching this and they're curious about this, please write the questions. We'll bring them forward in part 2. I want to offer each and every one of you last words. But what I wanted to say is my last words. Tara, you talked about the self-evolution and ability for people to connect as they're doing this exercise. My thoughts on this is something else altogether. We're all part of conscious communities. We're all part of social groups that talk about things that are happening out there, whether it's the Q movement or whether there's a lot of information. That information is way over information. What I don't see, and what I'd love to see, is a community of people that are self-caring together. And that, to me, is the most powerful thing as light workers we can do on a few levels. When we connect on that level and actually connect to the breath, as you say, and go into self-love, all that information that's been disseminated is actually within. And it becomes an amplifier at that point in time. So I encourage everyone, and I'll put the links down below on all the links from Carol and from Tara as well. I encourage for everyone to join the Self-Love Evolution group, share the experience, talk about self-care, because no one really is talking about self-care. That's an incredible, important aspect of it. Maybe that's even another show we can talk about altogether. But those are my parting thoughts. Tara, Carol, up to you.
Well, thank you, Zissis, for inviting me, and Carol here. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the generosity in listening over these last 2 hours, and for just having the openness and the willingness to hear something, and actually then also having the courage to do it, because that's a whole another thing. We can all say, oh yeah, another thing, another tool, we actually have to do this. It doesn't work if we just keep it as a thought in our head or put it in our back pocket. It's actually super important that you just do it. We have to walk our talk, you know what I mean? Put our money where our mouth is. Actually just get on and do it. And actually this is so easy and so effective. You don't have to just do it once a day and sit down and, go into meditation. You can do it in the bath. You can do it on the toilet. You can do it on the bus. You can do it anywhere. You can do it in the queue of the supermarket. Just come back to self and come back to source. Anytime. It's not difficult. And if we could all even just take that first step, massive, amazing, beautiful things are possible. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been really, one thing I've started to get used to is how it feels like you guys are in the room and the energy is so, yeah. So thank you for inviting me, Zissis. And it's been great to talk to both of you. And I look forward to a lot more of them. And I'm going to write some questions down, Tara and Zissis.
All right.
For both of you.
Big love to you, Carol.
I love you both. I can't wait for part 2. Enjoy wherever you are, and make love your goal, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.